Welcome back. As always, if it's the first time you're joining us, I would recommend going back to review our previous recordings. Before we jump in to try and look at some tools and ideas that we can take along in our toolbox as parents to try and keep with us for different times in our lives, let's first see a few things that are relevant not sometimes but always. Reb Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, one of the things that he taught many times was the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu only gave mitzvahs in the Torah that would not be obvious otherwise. And of course, where it needs explanation, he explained them. But what seems clear is what something is entirely and completely obvious, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not have to put in that tool into the Torah. For example, tefillah. Even though it does not seem to be a clear mitzvah and obligation anywhere in the Torah, it is clear to us, first of all, from what we see the Avos HaKadoshim did, where we see that Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they all went out to daven, but it is clear to us that it is an essential part in creating that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the truth is that tefillah itself is something that shows us that it completes that triangle of the Gimel Shutfim Ba'odam. It completes that relationship, that connection between us, our children, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We see, for example, something we discussed, the consistency of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's listening, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting in Mitzrayim for Klal Yisrael to scream out to him. The consistency of Hashem's listening is something that we show to our children through tefillah. When our children see us daven, they realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always listening. In other words, tefillah, not just is it the key to everything, as we'll discuss in a moment, but the effect of seeing a parent davening itself shows the child there is a relationship here with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always listening and talking to us when we daven to him. Tefillah, like we just said, is the key to all bracha. Of course, there are many stories of Gedolei Olam who all of them said the same thing. All my learning, all my godless comes from the tefillah of my parents. And actually it's something where we see even something unique to the mothers of Klal Yisrael, that they have a special power to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, again, a conversation maybe we will get to in the uniqueness of a mother versus a father, where we see, for example, Reb Simcha Wasserman says that the intuition of a mother is bigger than the intuition of a father when it comes to chinuch. And of course, we see certain things discussed that a father has to work on more than a mother. So, for example, kas, as we will get to in Yirtzeh Hashem. However, b'negiyah to tefillah, something that we, for example, see the Chazon Ish actually wrote a special tefillah that every parent should say during Shemona Esrei. And when we look at that tefillah, Yirotzim l'fanecha Hashem l'kai v'l'kai v'sai, she'terachim al b'ni v'savches levav v'le'ahava l'yira shemecha lishkut b'sirascha ha'kdosha. Three things. Chazon Ish doesn't say you daven for your child's health. Of course you should. Chazon Ish says three things you daven for your child. L'ahava or l'yira. To have their connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with ahava, with yira, and limud HaTorah. The three things you daven for your children again and again and again and again, because that is the one tool that can overpower anything in this world when it comes to our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because of course we know as parents that we could do all the things that we already discussed to cultivate, to plant the seed of a relationship with our children, which will put them in a place and in a position that they could potentially grow a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But on the other hand, we have the Rambam, that every person in this world is affected by his surroundings, which means our children will be affected by the people around them no matter what we do. And the only thing that can overpower that effect is tefillah. The only thing that will protect our children, no matter where they are in the world and no matter what is trying to affect them, is tefillah. Because tefillah has the power even when there is no hope. In other words, like Chazal teach us, Even when there is a sword on a person's neck. In other words, the relationship is ready to be severed. Everything is going against the child's hopes and future. With tefillah, a person can reach any level that he wants to. Even the story itself that Chazal is referring to. When Yeshayahu HaNavi comes to Chizkiyahu HaMelech and he tells him, you are going to die. And Chizkiyahu HaMelech tells him, Ben Omoitz, when you finish your nevuah, leave, because I have a Kabbalah that if I daven, even al cherev chadam unachas atzavar shalodam al yisrael shatzim min arachamim, if I daven, I can overcome anything. But what are the details of the story? The details of the story was that he was mechuyev misa. Why? Because he didn't have children. He never got married, Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Why not? Because he saw Baruch HaKodesh that if he got married, his children will go out to Tarbus Ra. He won't have good erlich kids who have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he felt like, why should he get married? And of course the Torah comes to tell us that's not a calculation a person should make, that he has to leave out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, what do we see happens? What we see happens that he used tefillah to overcome his gezerah of Misa. He used tefillah to actually end up children, which indeed, like Yehud Baruch HaKodesh, went to Tarbus Ra. But later on, there were generations of Balei Tshuva. There were generations of Gedolei Olam coming out of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Why? Because of that tefillah. So yes, there could be other powers who will have effect on our children. As the Rambam tells us, there could be futures with the Ruach HaKodesh that we don't even know, that leads to different paths for our children. However, if we use the koyach hatfilah, that's mesura b'yodeinu from our avos, as the Torah tells us time and time again, that the koyach of Yaakov was the koyach bapeh, the koyach hatfilah. With that koyach, we as parents can overcome anything, any challenge in regards to the relationship between us and our children and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because tefillah is the relationship itself. Tefillah is something that shows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there. It shows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always listening. Because if a parent goes and randomly, when they look for a parking spot, starts davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're showing to their 3-year-old, yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here with us in the car. When a parent goes and he finds himself in trouble, no matter what the case is, and he shows his children, you know who I'm turning to? I'm turning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tefillah. He shows his children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there. When a parent goes and says, I'm going to take out of my schedule in the day to stop and to daven, and to stop and to say Tehillim. When a mother goes and sits down and takes out of a busy schedule to daven, she shows her children, do you know what we have? We have a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and He's waiting and listening for us to talk to Him, because there is a relationship here to build. And with that koyach hatfilah, mothers of Klal Yisrael throughout the ages raised giants in Torah, as Chana already showed us. And from Chana's tefillah in the Beis HaMikdash, we learn all the halachas of Shemona Esrei. Of that koyach hatfilah, of that power of a mother's tefillah. What was she davening for? She was davening for exactly what we're talking about throughout this series. A child who will have a relationship with her, a child who will build a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course that's what she got, and from her we learn the details of tefillah, of how a person should communicate with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That koyach hatfilah is something that's there always, no matter where we are in our relationship, no matter if we started it right, no matter if we did the right things all along, or if we woke up a few days, a few years late, and we're starting late. The koyach hatfilah is more powerful than anything. Which is why tefillah is not only the key to the relationship, it's not only the key of raising our children, but it is also our obligation as parents if we want to be mechanech our children on the right path. This series is produced by TorahWire.org, sponsored by the DonorsFund.org. For all your charitable giving, open an account today at the DonorsFund.org.